Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts, like the chart behind me, which is of Biora Therapeutics, ticker symbol BIOR. And so I wanted to follow up on this after the big move in the after hours on November 30th. Following the announcement that they received FDA approval. And with this article that we see here, the price was up 64% after hours. And, unfortunately, the price dropped. A lot of those gains were returned following the close on Friday at $1.35. However, I do think it's good to keep in mind that the stock price did go up 8.87%, nearly 9% on the day. So, it could have been worse. The low of the day was $1.24. So, we're not in the 120s anymore. I do think that's good. 135. I think it's an interesting level that we'll explore, putting some lines up on the chart here in just a second. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this without a bunch of clutter since it is on the hourly time scale. And I do want to note that there was a low on November 30th in the pre-market of $1.10. So I find that pretty surprising because we had previously seen $1.16. Let's see if I scroll over. Yeah, that would have been right here, I believe, $1.16. So, I do think that's pretty interesting, but I think that there's some good information that we can gain from that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw up some lines. A lot of these I had drawn in previous videos, including this 120 right here. And let's see, 152. I was hoping that the stock price would open up around there and settle at that level with that acting as support. Unfortunately, that is not what we got. But I do want to point out these two lines up here, $2 and $2.28. I had drawn those previously. It's possible, actually, I drew those in the last video after this had moved up. But anyways, I've got those two lines there, $2 psychological level, and we can see that this wick on that first hour pierced that, but then closed below. And this wick on the second hour pierced 228, going up to as high as $2.32. But then it looks like we had some sideways consolidation here before the price dropped to the 130s, 120s during trading hours. And one thing that I do want to mention, something that I was thinking about in the after hours after I had noticed that this had gone up. I was thinking, do I want to sell some? Do I want to trim some? And, I didn't sell anything. I just, I expected this to continue going because FDA approval. I expected it to keep going. But, do I regret that? Do I regret not selling? No. I mean, and actually, this return to these levels actually gives me more confidence in the stock longer term, because if this would have gapped up, this move, this first candle is 73 cents. If it would have continued in the pre-market going up, we could have seen a dollar gap. That's a pretty significant gap at these prices. And, I'm glad that we don't have to now return to these levels, months from now after there is a big run. And one of my thoughts on why it might have returned to these levels is maybe some big buyers were left behind. And in doing this, it put a lot of fear in retail. I'm sure there was some panic selling over here. And so that returned the price down to these levels that are, at a discount, considering this company seems like it's doing great things. But anyways, I'm going to I threw up the lines. I did want to put up one thing that's based on the low here and the high here. I just made it transparent, so it's not too cluttered. Fibonacci retracement from $1.10 up to $2.32. And I think that, right now it may not be terribly useful, but I do think these levels will be very good to keep in mind for the time moving forward. But yeah, now I'm going to switch to the daily time frame so we can look at the chart. Okay, and so One thing, I had mentioned this Fibonacci retracement in red. I had also done another one it could have been a little bit lower the day before on the low of October 16th, but I chose to go with October 17th and then the high to October 20th, mainly because it produced this line from the 161.8% level, so below 100% return right here. And so that is at $1.18.1. And that is basically exactly where the low during trading hours was on the 29th, $1.18. So I just found that to be really interesting, and it gives me, a little bit of confidence that that might be at least the during market hours low. There might be some dips below it during the after hours pre-market, as we have seen, but that makes me feel confident that we have hit a bottom, that there is a level of significance there. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then let's see, with this red retracement, let's see, it opened right around the 618 level. That would be at $1.56.6. So I think that's pretty interesting. It also closed right around, let's see, the 786, which would be, I believe, $1.36.1. And the close was $1.35. So right around that level, unfortunately below, but I do think that's important to pay attention to. And then also considering these other levels moving higher, we might be revisiting those. So I think that's those are levels that are good to be paying attention to. And then I also want to note this wedge, I believe I had mentioned it in a previous video as just kind of a doodle that I threw up there. I did lock it, so I have not adjusted where it was drawn. There was an open above it right here, and then of course some closes below. But I do think it's somewhat reassuring that the close on Friday was above the top of that wedge. And in a previous video, I had suggested that a bullish move would be for it to break out of this, I believe that purple, downtrend, it's not a channel, that purple downtrending line there, that it would be nice to see a breakout above that, hit this orange line at $1.52, be rejected there, and then bounce off of this downtrending line, serving as support for then continuation higher. It did break below that purple line, but it has hit this doodle line that I have drawn. So I don't really know how significant that is, just based approximately on the high of November 13th and then the high of November 21st. But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see where the stock price opens up during market hours. I think that's really important. If it does open above $1.36.1, I think that could be pretty significant. If it closes above that level, I think that could be really good. And I was really hoping that it would settle around $1.52 before continuing up, just to, fill some of that gap. But that's unfortunately not what we got. But yes, as I had mentioned, after having seen this, I feel very, very confident in this stock, in this company. So, as long as we don't see closes below $1.18, I think that's a pretty good sign. And then that would just be, being able to scoop up shares at a discount. At least that's just my opinion. And one thing that I do want to mention before I close this video is considering covered calls. And so I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with those. If not, I'd be happy to make a video on them. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. But I just want to mention that, while I wish I had, thousands and thousands of shares, I don't, but I do have hundreds of shares. And with that, you can sell covered calls to get a premium, to collect a premium on them. And so this options table, it's unfortunately not that great for Biora. It's only every month rather than weekly. But the next time they expire is December 15th. And let's see, the strike prices are $2.50, $5, and $7.50. Unfortunately, for $5 and $7.50, there's no You can't make any money. It goes in $5 increments. So it's basically this value times 100. But at 250, you can sell covered calls and get a $5 premium on that. And so while I don't want to sell my shares at 250, but since I do have hundreds, I might try and sell one covered call at 250 for $5, maybe one for 10, and then try to get one filled at $5 a share. I'd be happy to sell 100 shares at $5. But would prefer not to at 250. But anyways, when holding the bag on a stock, which I am with a number of my positions, I found that covered calls, especially when they're weekly, can be a really nice way to collect a little bit of money. And so, yeah, if you're interested in learning more about covered calls, I'd be happy to do a video on them. But for now, I'm going to close this video. If it was helpful for you, make sure you like it, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching.